Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please?
Covering both sides of the big issues with the analysis you trust on News Radio 1040 WHO.
A news story that stuck out to me this week that may be a little bit less than fun is that college graduates are having a difficult time finding jobs right out of school. And to tell us more about why that's happening, Joel Patterson, founder of the Vested Group, is joining us on the line. Joel, thanks for coming on. What are some of the trends we're seeing that are leading up to this?
You know, I feel like every generation has some level of criticism weighed upon them for things like this. And Gen Z is really catching a lot of flack right now. You know, they're fresh out of college. I don't think it's any great secret that college doesn't necessarily prepare you for business etiquette and some of the things that happen on a day-to-day basis. But you hate to their generation, but there are some common things that are happening with them, and a lot of them are just tied to soft skills. So things like communication and how well they're able to communicate, whether that's to a customer or to a boss or to a coworker. It's you know, eye contact. You know, overall, just things that would normally create trust and confidence in people. They're really struggling to get that across to people as they're talking to them. The way that they dress is another one that comes up quite a bit. Again, it's uncomfortable to label the entire generation this way, but you know, they show up with their hair maybe not quite cleaned up for the day, or just wearing an inappropriate outfit, not necessarily like sexy inappropriate, but just, you know, wrinkled and dirty potentially. And they also, it's interesting because even though it gives the impression that they're not really investing in their career and they're not doing what they need to do, on the flip side of that is they don't have a problem asking for unreasonable things like salaries that don't make sense. You know, I had a guy just in the last 6 months who was asking for more than $100,000 a year, and he hadn't even graduated the University of Houston yet. So it was, you know, it's things that they don't mind. They don't mind just throwing it out there and seeing what happens. And you know, those are some of the common things that are happening. But you know, you got to treat each one on an individual basis as well, right?
Yeah, no doubt. Now, another thing that stuck out to me about this article is that employers are looking at older candidates for jobs, and those candidates may present themselves a little bit more professionally based on some of the things you were saying just now. Is that a trend that we're seeing across the board?
Yeah, I think that based on some of the things we talked about earlier and the challenges in getting some of the younger employees up to speed, companies are looking to see, all right, well, how can we get value from a new employee more quickly? And a lot of that is moving towards, you know, just a different generation. You know, they're willing to offer more benefits to try to recruit them because they know when they come in, they're going to understand the job and they're going to be able to just hit the ground running. Offer them higher salaries. And then obviously these days, everybody's got some element, or at least most people have some element of remote or hybrid working opportunity for them. And that's very attractive to people that you know, maybe they weren't considering this job before, but the fact that they've opened it up to different markets, it allows it to be more appealing to them.
Yeah, that makes sense. And when it comes to preparation in college courses, I do wonder, I mean, I went through college and I never had any courses that addressed what to do in a job interview or how to dress, how to appear, kind of the things you were talking about before. Do you think we're going to see universities moving in that direction to try to prepare people better for the kind of boots on the ground aspect of getting a job when they graduate?
You know, they have to. I mean, I'm with you. When I went through college, nobody talked about that at all.
Right.
And it's, you know, your first job kind of teaches you that kind of thing, but you really go in there not knowing anything. And that doesn't seem right. I mean, if you're really trying to prepare a person to go into the workforce, some of those soft skills need to be a component of it. And I think as colleges, you know, they're catching a lot of flack these days for lots of different reasons. But one of the ways that they can make themselves more appealing is to do that, to be able to just say, hey, we're not only are we teaching them educational topics, but we're also really investing in them as a person. I think that will separate them from the field when they go into interview. Here's a great stat that came from the survey I was looking at recently that I have a hard time understanding. But of the employers that they surveyed, 20% of them said that recent grads had actually brought a parent to an interview. I've not personally had that experience, but if people are really doing that, I mean, that's a problem. I mean, I can't imagine them thinking that they could bring a parent to an interview and look as if they were prepared and ready for a new career. It's going to be hard to get your head around that.
Yeah, I saw that stat as well, and I was blown away by it. I mean, well, like I said, I didn't get a whole lot of job interview prep when I was in college, but bringing a parent to the interview, I feel like even that would not be something I would have ever thought of. So that 1 in 5, that's really that's mind blowing.
It's shocking, yeah. No, and it brings up the whole question of the value of college education anyway. I mean,
right.
And I'm not lobbying saying that it's not valuable, but it certainly makes you wonder if you are going to spend what you're going to spend, you're going to take 4 years of your life and you're going to invest in it, you would assume some payback. And I think people are really stepping back and looking and saying, is that worth it? We've actually started in my company a program where we try to recruit people who just didn't go to college because of whatever reason. Maybe they had to help with their parents, or maybe they couldn't afford it, or they didn't want to. There's a lot of people out there in the labor force that may take a little bit more investment on the front side to get up to speed on what you need to do, including business etiquette. But in the long run, you've got people that are hungry, excited for an opportunity to try a career that might be what they thought was out of their reach, and that pays back pretty quickly.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of things that may seem out of reach, and I have to say I've always been fairly modest in this regard, but you mentioned earlier Gen Z candidates coming to interviews and requesting things like 6-figure salaries. Do you feel like that turns employers off, or is it to the applicant's credit that they're willing to throw something ambitious out there like that and see what happens?
It's a great question because I've felt both ways about it. I mean, They come in with such bravado where you feel like all right, well, that's good. They're confident. They're going to be able to stand in front of somebody and really perform and do what they need to do. But a lot of times there's no substance behind it. It's just they've learned that that's the way they should go ask for it, and they're just going to give it a shot and see what happens. They don't necessarily understand why. They just know they want more. And again, it's not everybody that's that way, but I've experienced it with, I'm like you. I was, especially at a younger age, I would never have had the gumption to stand up in front of somebody and say those things. But it really it seems simple for them, and it's something you got to work through.
Yeah, that's interesting. Again, we're speaking with Joel Patterson, founder of the Vested Group. Joel, when you are interviewing someone for a job, what are the things that they can do that are going to make them stick out to your mind as a candidate that you really want to take seriously?
Yeah, I always tell people, I want you to surprise me. Do something or behave in a way that, in a good way, right? I want to, show me something or tell me a story that I wasn't expecting. I always look for a growth mindset, and that doesn't matter if it's baby boomer or Gen Z. We're always looking for people that are interested in learning, recognizing there's a lot to learn. They don't know everything. And I think that Gen Z has an opportunity to really demonstrate that ability, to really just come in and be curious, and to be, you do some research, do a little bit of prep up front, comb your hair and put on some professional clothing, look people in the eye, and you'll do just fine. And we're not asking for a lot. It's just kind of it's the basics, and that you're really hiring them on potential, right? Because you don't know how they're going to be. And so there is quite a bit that they can do just with the real standard stuff that any interview would require. And I think they'll be surprised with the results.
Joel Patterson, founder of the Vested Group, with some great tips on job interviews and what employers are seeing in this post-pandemic job market. Joel, thanks again for taking a few moments to join the show this morning.
Yeah, anytime, Dave. Take care, man.